Hello. Well, first of all, let me give you a little bit of history on Councilman Jim Graham. Now, I've dealt with him for a while, and he is very passionate about the fact that we have so many seniors that are homeless in the shelters. He actually has visited shelters on a number of different occasions. He's seen people in their late 70s and even in their 80s who have to climb on bunks and go through the rigorous things that younger homeless people go through. And as it turns out, on this past Thursday, Councilman Jim Graham came out to the CCNB shelter and he did a tour. And during his tour, he met with an 86-year-old woman named Marie, who is here from New Orleans. She got brought up here after Hurricane Katrina, and she's been stuck here for 7 years because there's a policy that says if your house was destroyed and you had no loved ones in New Orleans who could vouch for you and take you in, they wouldn't send you back. And so we have several people here from New Orleans who got stuck here for that reason. That said, Councilman Jim Graham was really upset about the fact that this 86-year-old woman was in shelter, and he made the effort to help her. And so I was contacted about this woman named Marie, and when I went to CCNB, to the women's floor, and I asked for Marie, they actually brought a woman to me who was named Maria, who was Hispanic. It turns out Maria, although a different woman, is also from New Orleans. She got brought up here under the same circumstances, but she's 66, not 86. But at any rate, they acted very quickly. The DC Office on Aging, they acted immediately to help the woman. And unfortunately, like I said, I was given the wrong Marie/Maria. And so now I've actually begun to help Maria, the Hispanic woman, and I do want to commend the DC Office on Aging on how quickly they acted. They connected me with an agency called Family Matters, which, among other things, helps seniors with their various issues, and they came out the following day. Jim Graham was here on Thursday. DC Office on Aging sent a man from Family Matters named Ronaldo the following day on Friday, and they've all just gotten so involved so quickly. The DC Government Department of Human Services, DHS, also acted quickly to try and help these seniors. But then we had an email exchange during which I said, look, you know, it turns out there are at least 3 women named Marie or Maria who are elderly who live on the 2 South section of the CCNB shelter. And I said, you know, since we have all these elderly women, why don't we help them all? And the response that I got from Fred Swan of DHS was that it's not really that simple, you know, and we can't just reach out there and help all of them. We have elderly people in other shelters as well. And with the process with permanent supportive housing is that they take dozens of different applications, and they have a point system called the Vulnerability Index. And you get so many points for each physical illness, for each mental illness that you have, and then whoever gets the most points gets housed most quickly. Now, as it turns out, being 60 and over is one of those conditions that gets you points and gets you housed more quickly. And yet we have other people who are not quite as advanced in age, people in their 30s and 40s who have been housed in permanent supportive housing. We have people who are in their 70s and 80s who have not been housed. Now, I would say that if you have already lived beyond the normal life expectancy of a human being, then you should be housed very quickly. Permanent supportive housing was begun under the previous administration, under the administration of Adrian Fenty. And during that time, in his administration, we had a man named Clarence Carter, who was the director of DHS, and Laura Zeilinger was the deputy director. And when they began permanent supportive housing, they had said that they wanted to house the most vulnerable so that they didn't die homeless. Well, if you're beyond the normal life expectancy of a human being, if you're in your late 70s or in your 80s, then you're already on borrowed time. If they don't want you to die while homeless, then it would be logical that you would house the elderly before you house those in their 30s and 40s, regardless of what their conditions are. And so with that, I want to ask all these different parties to come back to the table and let's review this policy and let's work it over a little bit so that this 86-year-old woman can be housed. Now, it's my understanding that she doesn't want to live in D.C. She wants to go back to New Orleans. Like I said, she got caught up in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, and I think they should honor her wishes if she chooses to spend her last days in New Orleans. But that brings in some additional dynamics, because now we have to figure out who's going to take care of her, and D.C. government's Human Services has to contact New Orleans Human Services in order to work things out so that she isn't just sent back with no kind of support. And that may be a difficult thing for us to do, but nonetheless, I do think that they should give special attention to this 86-year-old woman and to anybody who has bypassed the life expectancy of a human being, and should get them housed quickly, regardless of what conditions these younger folk might have. So DHS, DC Office on Aging, let's all come together and let's talk this thing over.